Now it's time to move on to New York. Thomas on WOR. Go ahead, please. You're next up. What's on your mind?
Doc, I'm a second-generation conservative. My father, the old way, he taught me the old way. If you're black and you're the only person around, you hold your head up high. You don't act like a fool. You don't call undue for everyone else.
Thomas, you're breaking up. I know that what you're saying is, I heard some of the words. I can't repeat them because I didn't get them right, and I don't want to misquote you. Is there any way you guys can call Thomas back on a solid line? Let's go to Jimmy on WOR. Jimmy, go ahead, please.
Yes, I like what you're saying about Spain, because in the communist press, both Soviet and American communist, Spain and Germany were both referred to as Popular Front governments. That means governments with communist in them, and that means that the communists eventually would have controlled those countries. So Franco was desperate to stop them, and he got help from the only place who helped them was the Nazis. Now, you could have two bad guys, but the Soviets definitely were the worst because they were worldwide, and they had designs on conquering the whole world, where Spain...
Well, hold on now. Let's not get carried away. Hitler wanted to conquer the world as well. So, to me, Hitler and Stalin were equal chess pieces. It's the same power struggle right now that is going on between Soros and Murdoch. I know that I'm not saying that they're both fascists. I'm just saying two of the most powerful men in the world right now are George Soros and Rupert Murdoch, and they're playing each other by proxy right now. Mm-hmm. And in those days, it was Stalin versus Hitler.
But when Franco stayed in charge of Spain, he didn't continue the war against anybody. He was just concerned about keeping the communists out of power. So he didn't help Hitler at all, because if Spain fell, Britain would have fallen easily, and the whole world could have ended up being controlled by the Nazis and then eventually the Soviets. Because remember, there was a partnership between the Soviets.
All right, this is very complicated, but Jimmy, focus with the audience for a minute on something they can relate to. The so-called socialist progressives or anarchists who went over from New York City to fight in the international brigades. Did you know any of them? Have you met them?
I met some of them later, and some of these American communists killed other Americans in Spain because it was a battle between the Trotsky supporters and the Stalin supporters. But a small amount of these Americans who fought in Spain were for democracy. They didn't go there really to fight for Stalin. They went there because they were against Hitler. That's a small amount. But those who didn't follow Stalin totally, many of them were murdered by other Americans. And
they were shot in the back. They were rounded up and shot. I did read something about that. I'm no expert on that. However, I did read about the divisions within the communist movement, along the lines of the divisions within the so-called progressive movement in America. There are factions that hate each other here. Isn't that true?
They hate each other, but eventually they'll unite. It's like a menu, you know what I mean? You could pick your brand of Marxism in order to broaden the Marxist movement. So
do you consider, the way I do, that Obama's clearly a Leninist? You're an expert on communism. I know we've spoken for years on the phone. But would your analysis conclude that Obama's a Leninist?
I believe totally, absolutely, 100% he and his wife are Marxist. And they do purposely do things to get people like us mad at them.
No, but I said Leninist, not Marxist. But go on with what you were saying.
Leninist, you're right, Leninist, okay? Marxist-Leninist, I'll say. Some of these people are smart enough to know if they do things to provoke anger out of us, and then we complain, then it's, aha, see, they're racist. Everything
So in other words, the Tea Party movement that arose and that has been fighting the communist tendencies, i.e. big government tendencies of Obama, are actually part of their plan to, mobilize their own troops, as we've been hearing from the Sheila Jackson Lees and the others who have been screaming that the Tea Party is the enemy? Is this a design?
Well, the left knows how to provoke the anti-left, and then among the anti-left, there may be some people saying things out of the way, or their agents among the Tea Party say something out of the way. Because if the left keeps portraying themselves of the victims of the right, whether it's Hitler, yes, whether it's fascism, and now...
Yes. Well, didn't you hear Holder's speech today that I played at Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Lunch? Did you play that again? Listen to this, Jimmy. Is this not right out of Animal Farm? Listen to it.
We have not yet reached the promised land that Dr. King spoke of. Now, I say this fully aware of...
Let's stop right there. This line is right out of George Orwell's... Excuse me, pardon me. It's right out of Animal Farm. It is Orwell's Animal Farm. That is correct. Jimmy, you read Animal Farm, haven't you?
Yes, yeah. Schools used to have you read this years ago, but no longer. The left has total control where kids aren't even allowed...
Why has the left eliminated George Orwell's Animal Farm from the schoolrooms?
They don't want kids to think and be able to see what's happening. I mean, it's the same way they closed down the House Un-American Activities Committee, who first went after the Nazis and stuff. They don't want any opposition, so they have to discredit. If they don't outright kill the opposition, they have to discredit them, call them racist, homophobe.
Jimmy, do you think that Obama has a plan for a war in this country, a civil war, in order to get reelected?
I can't say that for sure, but among the left, there are people who would do that. I can't say he himself, but among the left, that is something that's in their mind, and they're working toward race trouble. I mean, the immigration policies they're pushing, in the communist-owned press, they say America's going to change through immigration and minorities. They say this openly. So, in effect,
you mean change towards a more Latin American communist nation, is that it?
Well, Frances Fox Pivens, who's a Marxist, I heard her speak at the Brecht Forum, which is a hotbed. All the world's communist and revolutionary groups, everything intersects at the Brecht Forum in New York. I heard her speak there, and the changes they want to bring, which means bring down America and change it. She says that's going to happen largely through minorities and immigration, because minorities and the new immigrant groups, their leadership, not the minorities or the immigrants, but the leadership of those groups are radical left, and they need those people because of their voting power to vote in things that are going to destroy our country, whether it's free benefits, health care, whatever it is to bring us down economically, which will hurt us militarily.
Right. We have to remember that Hitler was elected to power originally. People forget that. He was originally elected to power by a very small margin. People forget that. But it's a very important fact of history. I'll be right back. Thank you, Jimmy.